Since disembarking from the plane, the man has been incessantly spewing water from his mouth, his entire being resembling a high-pressure water gun. The plane he had been on was even more bizarre. What should have been a 3-hour flight had instead kept the aircraft in the sky for a staggering 5 years. More astonishingly, none of the passengers on board had noticed anything unusual. When the captain contacted the control tower to request permission to land, the tower staff were utterly stunned. Only after repeatedly verifying the flight information and passenger count did they allow the plane to land at a remote auxiliary airport. Before the passengers could even disembark, a large number of police cars had already surrounded the area. The passengers, upon seeing this, were extremely frightened, thinking that there must be a wanted criminal on board the plane, and began discussing amongst themselves. Meanwhile, the captain was being questioned by the police. An impatient Amy told the police that her nephew was feeling unwell and hoped to be allowed to go home and rest first. However, what the police said next left everyone completely shocked. The man informed them that the plane had taken off in 2013, but the current year was 2018, meaning that the plane had been flying for 5 years. During this time, everyone on board had been presumed dead. The passengers found it unbelievable upon hearing this. They had only just checked in 3 hours ago, so how could 5 years have passed by the time they disembarked? In order to thoroughly investigate the cause, the police chief detained the plane and all its passengers. They were questioned individually, but the answers they ultimately provided were all the same. Nothing particularly unusual had happened on the plane, except for encountering a strong air current midway through the journey, which had plunged the cabin into darkness, but things had quickly returned to normal. Even after conducting a thorough inspection of all the items on the plane, no useful clues were found. Left with no other choice, the police chief had to release the passengers to reunite with their families. The passage of 5 years had already brought about huge changes for many families. Seeing that their twin sister had now grown into an adult, the younger brother couldn't accept reality and could only turn and leave. Amy, who was originally a police officer, also met her former boyfriend again, but upon seeing the ring on the man's hand, she realized that he had actually married her best friend. Amy did not pursue the matter further and instead turned to leave. As she sat on the bus, a voice in her mind told her to stop. Amy immediately shouted at the driver, never imagining that this action would save the boy's life. The driver hurriedly asked the woman how she knew, but Amy was also unsure of what exactly was going on. Ever since disembarking from the plane, this strange voice had frequently appeared in her mind. One morning, while Amy was out for a run, passing by a yard, the strange voice sounded in her mind again, saying, "Let them go." However, Amy only saw 2 dogs in the yard and didn't pay it any mind. That night, as she was sleeping, the voice in her mind spoke up once more, still repeating the same words, "Let them go." So, she put on her clothes and went to the yard outside, never expecting that her brother would also drive up to this place at this time.